Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo.
All right, so we are back. What's so special about this episode, Dom?
It is the first episode of the new season. Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast.
That is right.
We've come long, we've come far, and here we still are.
And so, before we get into the gist of things, first off, how are you?
Pretty good.
We took a week off, which I'll explain, and will probably be the gist of this episode. But, first off, how you been, man?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Nothing crazy has gone so far, except for some video game topics. In terms of the real life stuff, we might be able to get a second job for the monies. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Working with some good friends nearby where I am, so I'll get to save a bit more monies so that I can save up for, I don't know, a house, perhaps. I don't know, Jack. I've got some little bit of some news coming up, but we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, nothing so much so far has happened, I think, except for maybe my brother bought himself a PlayStation 5 on his own. I think that's pretty crazy. He's also gonna buy his own monitor, which is also pretty crazy, totaling up to around $1,000 in terms of price. But I mean, hey, it's his money. But yeah, nothing else much has happened for the past 2 weeks, I think. For me, that is. Yeah.
I see. But so, as you mentioned, season 2, on to bigger and better things as always. And for those who don't know, I think me and Dom just agreed on it being that every time a year passes from when we started doing this, we should consider it a new season as always.
Indeed.
And who knows, maybe within the new seasons we could revisit old topics, but for the most part, I think we're going to try and always keep it fresh and new,
Yeah.
But so, we'll get into the gist of it now, and that is, what was the reason for the 1 week break between the finale, 1 year anniversary, and this new season? And if you remember, on the 1 year anniversary episode, I said I would be getting surgery, and I wouldn't know if I would be back in time to record with Dominic. But so, let me explain more in depth, and this is kind of where visuals would be better, but work with what you got. So, the surgery I needed was on my foot. The issue with my foot is that since elementary, right, Dom?
Right.
I have constantly gotten ingrown toenails, on my big toes, on both feet.
Right.
And another issue, and I want you to try and visualize this, is that my big toe, for some reason, curves inward and goes underneath the toe right next to it. Meaning that the other toe rests atop of it most of the time when I'm walking, when I'm just laying down, sitting somewhere. It will lay on top of it. And so if I end up getting an ingrown toenail, that constant friction of that toe on top of it irritates it even more,
Right.
But so this has been an issue with my feet my entire life. They just, for some reason, the big toes won't sit naturally atop or right next to the other toes. And this surgery all happened because I got another ingrown toenail, but then I stubbed my toe, and that caused the toe to get infected. And then adding on the constant, friction from the other toe, it was making the infection get worse.
Right.
And so when I went to a doctor look about it, he was like, we could do like the surgeries to fix the ingrown toenails, but what's the point if they're going to keep coming back because of the bigger issue?
Right.
And so he proposed the idea to get surgery in which, so I will explain, when we get to the surgery part, I'll explain what the actual surgery was, but when we first went, the way he described the surgery was breaking the bone and then putting something in place to keep it straight so that when the bone reforms, it's like in the position it needs to be, meaning the toe finally rests atop and like next to the other toes and is straight.
Right.
But first, needed x-rays, because he obviously needs to see if like that's the actual issue with the foot. And I decided on my right foot because it's not as much as an issue on my left foot. And, I couldn't do both because then I would be wheelchair bound for the most part and wouldn't be able to really move.
Right.
So we decided just on the right foot, and the recovery time was decided that if I get the surgery, it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks.
Jeez.
So even if I wanted to get the one done on the left foot, I don't think I'd be able to get it done anytime soon because school's going to start up. Unless something happens where school goes back to being online fully, I don't see myself getting that surgery. That's how long the recovery time is. Went, got x-rays done. And it was funny, before I even got the x-rays done, they called to make the appointment for the surgery. So it was kind of already decided, but they still needed the x-rays, obviously. So we made the appointment, went to go get the surgery. Or not the surgery, the x-rays. And then they called and were like, okay, so surgery's on Friday. You won't know until the day before Thursday. You won't know until Thursday.
Right.
When the surgery will be. They'll call on Thursday and let you know. But before that, on Wednesday, you got to come in for a pre-op appointment just to, talk with the doc. And so my dad went with me, and the doc shows us the x-ray, shows how, like, it's true, like, the bone, for some reason, is curved inward. Which, I really don't know how my foot got like that. It's a genetic thing, but you can't even say it's a genetic thing because no one else in my family has feet like that,
Yeah.
But so it's just from when I was born. So he's showing it, and then that's when like he let us know more thoroughly what the surgery actually is, and it was that they were gonna make an incision where the bone is, and they were gonna like cut through it a bit, like not necessarily break it, and then put like a pin in the toe, and that's gonna keep it straight. And then when it's finally fully recovered after surgery, after the estimated time, I think they said like remove the pin, and like if the surgery is successful, it should just stay in place and be fixed for good.
Right.
And then this entire time I've been on an antibiotic because the toe was still like infected because of when I stubbed it.
Yeah.
And so I've just been on antibiotic for that. And let me think. Oh yeah, and then they said they would clean it up a bit, obviously, like during the surgery. But like, and I'll go a little bit ahead. During the surgery, they actually found out that the toe, I think my dad told me it was no longer ingrown. So like, it wasn't even ingrown anymore. It was just infected, and like had like all that blood on it because of, again, like I said, the rubbing from the two toes. But so that's Wednesday, and wrapping up Wednesday, I had to go across the street to get a COVID test because they want to make sure I don't have anything. And weirdly enough, I don't think I ever got texted my results, but they had to have been fine if I was able to go through with the surgery. And plus, I just didn't feel any of the symptoms, so it's like I don't think I had COVID.
Right.
But so then Thursday they call, and they say that my surgery is at 1:30, and but I have to get there by like 11, I think it was. And the reason being was that if he finished up early with his other patient, it was so that I can get in faster, you know?
Right.
But so, you know, Friday comes, get ready, get there to the hospital, get there in the waiting room, waiting around, having the discussion with like multiple different nurses, discussing the procedures, discussing stuff like anesthesia, or anesthetics, I mean, you know, and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think like pre-op stuff. Obviously, because of COVID rules, only one parent can go up with me at a time. But so we waited there for a while, and the hope was that, you know, it was done within a timely manner that we can still get home, like, relatively early, you know?
Yeah.
Because my dad was working from home that day.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, they got me up to the, like the waiting area where, like, they fully start prepping you for pre-operation stuff. And that was around 1:30 that they started getting me up there for that stuff. Like, that's when they started putting in the IV, the like checking the temperature, the oxygen rates, the blood pressure, stuff like that, you know?
Right.
And so I'm waiting there, and they're doing all the stuff. At no point did I feel any, like, pain, like the IV when they do that. Like, I didn't feel no pain from that. This is the one thing I'll emphasize a lot throughout this discussion. I have a high level of pain tolerance. And another thing I'll emphasize is throughout my life, other than, of course, you know, being fat, you know, I've been relatively healthy.
Yeah.
Like, the only other type of surgery I've ever needed was for my appendix when I had to get it removed. And that was in the 2nd grade. And like I told you, despite being in the 2nd grade and having that surgery, whenever they came to give me pain medicine or something to help with the pain, I just said, no, I'll just take the pain. So I have a pretty high pain tolerance, relatively healthy. Like I said, no pain from the IV. They talked to me about this thing. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting its name now, but it starts with a C. Catheter, I think is what it's called. Basically,
yeah, I'm not sure.
It's like this, like, ball that has, like, medicine in it, right?
Right.
And it sits in this bag. And what they do is, it's like an IV, you know. They have to like plug it into you, you know, and poke it into you.
Yeah.
But what it does is they poke it into a nerve, and the thing itself is programmed so that it releases medicine, like, timely. And it basically releases it onto the nerve, I want to say, so that it constantly is numbing the pain.
Yeah.
And even when they put that in, I didn't even notice when they put it in. Like, that's how painless it was. But so that was the main thing I had, and it was weird because they said it would last about like 60 hours, meaning about what, like 3 days almost, 2.5 days almost.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that later. But so they attached that, and the crazy thing is, this is all pre-op, and I'm already falling asleep without like any anesthetics. I'm like there falling asleep. I'm already like feeling tired and stuff. And as always, I don't really have good memory, so I have hazy memory of like what happens after. But all I remember is they finally went to take me in, and I had been discussing with my dad earlier before that, telling him, I wonder how it's gonna feel when I go under, you know, because obviously, you know, they give you a countdown, and you black out before they even finish the countdown.
Right.
But I was saying, I wonder if I'm gonna be able to tell how long it's taking, or I'm just gonna wake up and it felt like, you know, like a couple seconds. And so to play off that, you know, my dad goes to me, it's like final goodbye before going into the surgery room. And like I just hold his hand and tell him, oh, see you in 7 seconds, right? And
Right.
pretty accurate because I don't remember anything after that. All I remember is waking up. And so you remember I told you surgery time was 1:30, right?
Uh-huh.
They had my dad sign up for this thing so that he can get like text notifications from the actual nurses and surgeons in the room of like what was going on, you know, like, oh, just started, halfway done, finishing up, okay, he's finished, you know.
Uh-huh.
I believe my dad told me they did not text him and said that they started until like 3:30.
Gee, that long?
Yeah, and when I woke up, it was about 6 or close to 6. So that's about how long this surgery took, even though the doc had originally told us about an hour or even less at times, where at the hospital they told us his average time was about 2 hours.
Oh, I see.
But so I wake up, and let me tell you this, I would have thought I woke up half dead. I woke up severely dehydrated, and the pain I felt was like no other pain I have ever felt before.
Jeez.
Like for the first couple minutes that I woke up from the anesthesia, dude, I was like I couldn't speak. I was just looking around, constantly just like licking my lips because I was like, dude, what the heck did they give me that I'm like this dehydrated and stuff, right?
Right.
Like the guy comes up, like the nurse, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing? Do you need anything?" And like the first thing I'd say is, "Get me water, please." And like he gets me water, finish that. He brings me a Gatorade, finish that. They bring me more water. I finish that. That's how like I was literally so dehydrated from it, and the pain was, like I said, the pain was like something I've never felt before, dude. Like it wasn't bad to the point where like I was like being loud about it, you know.
Uh-huh.
But like I was like physically just like so in like so much pain, and it was so like there's no other way to describe it other than saying it was like so painful. It felt like 1,000 needles going like into my skin, you know.
Right.
And what made it worse, it was all in one concentrated area, and it was like that. Sorry, it was that area that's like. Now, you know when your foot kind of curves? When it gets to like the big toe area?
Uh-huh.
Like along the side, it was all like concentrated in that one area. And then finally, it starts going down because the catheter starts working. The other like stuff starts working. I can't remember if they gave me some pain meds or not. I might have taken some. I can't remember for sure. But so finally I get down to the point where, okay, I'm hydrated. I'm calming down a bit. My body's kind of getting more used to the pain, even though it still hurts. And the nurse comes up. He's like, all right, do you want us to send anyone up? And I look down, and as you've seen how big the cast is, you know. Or it's not really like a cast, but, you know, it's like wrapped up and stuff. I look down, I look at how big this thing is. I look at the fact that I still have this catheter plugged into the side of my leg, and the IV still in, and I'm just like, yeah, get me Dad, because I know for a fact my mom would probably faint looking at all this stuff.
Jeez.
And so my dad comes up first, and I'm just like relaxing with him, telling him, you know, what happened when I woke up. And he starts telling me, you know, yeah, you know, they didn't start surgery till it was like 3:30, and, you know, it's about to be 6 finishing up. What else happened? They started a lot of the nurses, and I don't think the doctor came in, but all the like nurses were just checking in with me, kind of explaining a lot of the stuff that was going to happen afterwards. But at the moment being, they were just keeping me in that bed, checking up, making sure everything's going all right. And even when they started removing stuff like the IVs, it's like I didn't feel any pain.
Uh-huh.
And I think a lot of it had to do with that catheter thing, because, you know, it's attached to a nerve, so it's like you're getting that direct numbness, like you're getting it directly like to the point, you know.
Right.
But so then Then they come to my dad and they're like, all right, so, the doctors just prescribed Tylenol for pain, ibuprofen for pain, Oxycontin, but that's like for like extreme,
Yeah.
like the kind of limit I tell myself is like I'm saving that for like the extreme type of pain, 'Cause, Oxycontin's not to mess with,
Right.
I don't know how a lot of people nowadays, and especially like rappers, just be doing that stuff like it's normal. But I set a limit on that, and I honestly, me and my dad didn't even want to get it, but they were like, just like take that, and it was like some other like nasal spray, I think. Like they were like, oh, it's just like for emergency like standpoints,
Right.
But even they were like, just get it, but for the most part, you should only need the Tylenol and ibuprofen.
Right.
And so then my dad's like, okay, I'll go down and get that. I'll send mom up so that, she can have a couple moments with you, and then he'll come back up for the final moments, which didn't actually end up happening because everything happened pretty quickly after that.
Uh-huh.
So my mom comes up, didn't freak out as much as I expected her to, but she couldn't believe the size of the foot cast and stuff. She was totally confused by the catheter plugged into the side of my leg.
Right.
And so just kind of relaxing there with her, trying to calm her down, tell her, because obviously she was asking me about like the pain and stuff, and I'm just saying, yes, I'm in pain, but like I'm not feeling it as much as I was when I first woke up. And then they come and they're like, okay, well, it's almost like 6:30 at this point, getting ready to leave. Let us know when Dad says he's picked up the medicine so we can get you ready to go. Lady will come, two lady nurses will come and teach you how to use the crutches. And then after that, we'll put you in a wheelchair, wheel you down, get you to the car. Or Dad can pull up the car in the front and you'll be on your way home, And so at that point, it was just a wait for my dad to get the medicine. So in the meantime, they were like, okay, well, you can finally start getting dressed, you could take off like the gowns and start putting on, your... Oh yeah, I can't remember if I still had the gown on. I may or may not have. I don't remember for sure. I think I might have put back like my shirt and like shorts on again. I don't remember for sure though. But here's the funny part I forgot to mention. So when we were in the waiting room, right back around like 11, 12, they brought the gown and they were like, okay, well, just put it on for now. But when you get up there, you can't have your shorts or underwear, right? And I had already taken off my undershirt at that point. But then they were like, just keep them on for now because you're going to have to go out there in the waiting room and wait.
Right.
And then we got up there and they were like, okay, yeah, you got to take out shorts. And then they're like, okay, the underwear should be fine. So I went into the operating room with the gown and only underwear on, right?
Right.
So then we come out and then my mom's like, all right, well, the nurse was like, all right, you can start changing them now. And my mom goes to start putting on my shorts and I go, Mom, wait. She goes, what? I go, where's my underwear?
Oh, dear.
They later showed that they put it in a separate bag, but my mom was like, what are you talking about? You went in there with underwear. I'm like, yeah, I don't got any on now. I don't know what happened to them, but I don't have them on. So that was the most, like, that was the one thing that threw my mom off the most, was just, like, she was like, how did you go in there with underwear and now you come out with honey? I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? I was knocked out for the entirety of the thing. And that's another thing. The anesthetics they gave me, it was full on anesthetic. It wasn't just numbing my foot. They fully knocked me out. But so, get dressed, get wheeled out, learned how to use the crutches, obviously. Get wheeled out, get picked up, get into the car, pick up some food to eat, obviously. Because I had gone almost the whole day. I forgot to mention that. I had stopped eating around, like, I don't know, anywhere between like 8 or 11 the previous day. And I had to stop drinking at 10 in the morning that day. So that was probably the reason why I was so dehydrated when I woke up.
Right.
But Then ate my food, get into the house, and because of how much pain my foot was in and how numb it was, I couldn't really use it to walk, so I kind of had to like crawl my way up the stairs, but like backwards.
Right.
But so, you know, that was that, and then I don't know, the pain started coming back that day and like the next day for some reason. Like I can't remember if I took any the first day, but like again, being, you know, having the tolerance that I have, and having the tolerance that I have, and kind of not being one for meds, I kind of refused to take any that first day. But oh man, we're getting to post-op now, and let me tell you, that next day, dude, I think I might have went like the rest of the day like kind of fine, still like completely bedridden though, right?
Right.
That night though, dude, I was in so much pain, and the one thing that they told us was, you know, the Tylenol and ibuprofen are both like every 6 hours. And so the strategy to use is that when you take a Tylenol, 3 hours later, take an ibuprofen, and then 3 hours after that, 6 hours have passed, you could take the Tylenol, and then 3 hours later, 6 hours passed, so you could take the ibuprofen. You know, just interchanging them every 3 hours. Because there was nothing that said you couldn't take both. Obviously, you shouldn't take them like at the same time, but you know, it was interchanging them. So that I was going like less periods of time with the pain. But that night, dude, I was into almost similar pain as when I had first woken up, that I had to take the Oxy, and I had to wake up at like 3 a.m. to take another like Tylenol, and like so that begun the process for almost until I want to say either Wednesday or Thursday, where I was taking it like every 3 hours, and this is along with taking the antibiotic. But so I was just interchanging off of them like that, and it wasn't until like recently, like I said, like Wednesday, Thursday, and even today, it's like I haven't been feeling that much pain, so I haven't been taking the meds, because it's like I'm not feeling the pain. So, you know, I'd rather save the meds for when I'm actually in pain, you know? Because, for the most part, in these post-op days, I haven't felt, or like in these last couple of days, I haven't felt really that much pain, so I think I'm doing fine. I haven't taken any of them, like the pain meds today or yesterday. I think I only took it like once or twice, so I've been kind of well with handling the pain now. Kind of got it back on track, but that first few days of this first week post-operation were like hell because of how much pain it was.
Right.
And the worst part, you know, obviously you have to have the foot elevated, but the worst part is that I can't sleep properly. Because I'm the type of person that usually sleeps on their stomach. And I've had to sleep on my back this entire time, because there's not really a way I can sleep on my stomach with this thing. Because all the pressure either has to be going onto the heel or onto the other side of the foot. I can't lay down or put any pressure on the front of the foot or on that side where the surgery was done, because obviously it's going to mess things up.
Right.
But so, it's just like, let's just say I haven't been sleeping well ever since the surgery happened, because of the fact that I can't sleep comfortably in the way I like to.
Jeez, man.
Oh, and that's the other thing. So you remember how I said that that catheter was supposed to last like 60 hours? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it gave out on Saturday.
All till then?
Yeah, it hadn't even been 24 hours and that thing gave out already. Like, we had to call like the pain specialist at the hospital. And we were like, my dad was saying, yeah, the ball looks deflated. you can kind of see some liquid coming out, but like for the most part, like he's still feeling pain and like this thing's looking deflated. Because they said when it gets almost like completely flat, that's when you know it's like done. And they were like,
Huh?
"Oh, okay, yeah, I guess it's done. You can pull it out of him now and just put a bandage over the spot where the 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 needle went into." And we were just like, "Why did they tell us it was gonna last 60 hours if it barely even lasted 24?"
Right.
So that, and it was funny because the nurses were like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna want it's gonna help with the pain." It's like, yeah, it helped with the pain for only one day. The thing was done after 24 hours, and so it was basically useless for the rest of the this entire week.
Jeez.
So I mean, sure, it was useful in numbing the pain that day and the day after, but it gave out before its estimated time.
Right.
But that's pretty much the gist of it, you know. I'm hoping this surgery was worth it, obviously, because it's like I want to fix the issue. I'm tired of getting ingrown toenails and tired of, having them, And another thing I'm trying to see is I wonder if it affects the way, like, I walk.
Uh-huh.
Or, like, the way I fit into shoes. But I guess we'll see.
I mean, just give it some time, maybe like a month or two, and it should maybe just better up by then. But I think that's just common. The common amount of time for it for like something like that to heal. But that's what I think. But yeah, I mean, geez, man, all this in the span of a week too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Any type of questions you have about all this, though?
I wanted to question: do you, by any chance, feel that pin? Because you mentioned that they placed a pin inside of
Oh, sorry, what was it?
about the pin that you mentioned that was inserted into your foot, not your foot, your toes.
Oh,
If you could feel the thing in
I
there.
cannot, and I can't even like wiggle any of my toes.
Oh dear, right.
So that's how. I don't want to say numb, but I guess you could say that's like how tightly wrapped and how everything is right now is that I can't even move them.
Right.
I don't even feel that pin. I still do feel pain from time to time, like in that area. For the most part, there's apparently a hole at the top of this cast where you can see the pin, but I'm not able to see it. Everyone else can see it, but I can't.
Yeah. I see. And well, how do you call it? Do the doctors ever give you like an estimated amount of time in which you could finally take off the cast? I think you said like 6 weeks around there.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you call it? Well, when do you think it will be the time where you could like regularly walk? Or do you think there's gonna be some sort of like physical type of therapy where you have to, like, practice walking per se, just so you could get back into the rhythm, even with the pin in your in your toes and the fact that you got surgery?
I think they want to do physical therapy, but it should be somewhere around August. I want to say that this all gets fully unwrapped and I go back to normal.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. I also wanted to ask, how do you say it? How would you say this thing? After all this went down, how did you feel? Like, in terms of, I understand that there was pain and stuff like that, but considering that they did not do the same thing on your left foot, do you think it would have been worth it just to do it all swell on the left foot? You know what I'm saying? I mean, sure, you might have been wheelchair bound, but just in case to like prevent future cases where an ingrown toenail might occur again. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, maybe in the future I'll get the left foot done, but for the most part, I'm not really seeing a reason to. Just because, like I said, the right foot has always had it worse than the left.
Right.
Which is why we went with the right foot, because it's always had it worse.
Right.
At the current moment, I don't know. Like you said, unless like something comes up, I don't think I'm gonna do the left foot at least anytime soon.
But your left foot feels fine at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, hopefully nothing bad happens. Of course, I don't. I mean, if you feel fine now after all those years on your left foot, I don't think anything's gonna hopefully grow badly there. But I guess time will tell. What to say?
Gotta tell you what are some of the biggest struggles when it comes to this surgery or post surgery.
Yeah, what are they?
So, one of the biggest struggles is using the restroom.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
you
right.
look at that and you're like, how is using the restroom that hard with like a cast on your foot, right? It's like, how does that affect any way that you use the restroom, right?
Right.
Remember, all the pressure has to go in the heel, meaning when I walk and use those crutches, all that pressure has to go on my heel. So when I have to go use the restroom, when it's to do like number one, I'm having to basically stand on one foot while using the restroom. And even worse, let's say it's a case of number two, right?
Right.
It's even worse because I can't put this foot flat, and so using that restroom is even harder. Because you can't get in the proper position to use it, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, that has been the biggest struggle for me, is getting up and just using that restroom every single time, because it's like, I can't, like that, and like I said, sleeping, it's like, I can't get in the proper position. Like, it's that difficult. Like, that's one of the biggest struggles I've really had with the post-surgery stuff. It's like, the pain's been pretty bad, but having to get up and do stuff that I used to just fine, it's like, man, it's so much more difficult.
Right. Jeez, man. And I also wanted to add that this whole time you were pretty much, I'm going to assume you were bedridden this whole time, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I think the only time I've left this area is either to use the restroom or on Wednesday when I went over to the living room to watch AEW Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
That was literally the only times I've gotten up from my bed, because there's not really anywhere I can go. I mean, it's been alright. I've been mainly using the time to either read or catch up on anime.
Yeah.
It's giving me the time I needed, but at the same time, I'm not really using the time as much.
Well, I mean, it's more time nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
You pretty much technically have an excuse to,
Be lazy.
Be lazy for the time being. That is. How do you call it? Won't you have to go back to the docs for them to check up on you, like a second checkup or something?
I go. I believe it's the 21st for my post-op appointment.
Of July?
So next
Also,
week Wednesday. Next week Wednesday, I go in for a post-op appointment. What was I gonna say? Oh, you want to know another struggle?
Well, what's up?
And this isn't gonna sound like a struggle to other people, but this is just the way I am in a sense. And the biggest struggle for me throughout all this is having to be dependent on other people in order to do things.
Right.
Because before this, I'd wake up, early as always. And I'd go, to the kitchen, make myself something to eat, make myself breakfast. And I'd pretty much do my own thing, I'd be the one cooking, my breakfast. I'd be the one in charge of, like, doing things, if I needed something, I'd get it myself, The biggest struggle now is that because I can't do that, I have to ask other people to do things for me. I have to ask someone to make me food if I want food. I have to ask for water if I need water. If I'm simply trying to grab the controller or one of the books, I have to ask someone to come get it. If I need to be changed, I need to ask someone to get the clothes for me to change. To put it this way, I've never been a person that likes to depend on others. Especially when it comes to my family. I've never liked having to depend on my family to do stuff for me. And it's like, in the mornings, I would always wake up early, start cooking my food. And then my mom would wake up. And she would start trying to help me, or at least try and cook the food for me. I'm like, no, let me do it myself. I'm like 19, I can do it myself. I can cook for myself. I can go shower for myself. I can clean and fold and put my clothes away for myself, But now, I can't do that. I am forced to let them do stuff for me. And even more so, like I said, I can shower for myself. Today, I'm going to have to get their help in order to shower.
Right. Oh, man.
And when I do, I have to bag up the foot so that it doesn't get wet, because it can't get wet. And even bigger surprise. Oh, damn, I just realized we have about 2.5 minutes left, so I'll say this.
Oh, yeah.
It's been about, almost a year and a half since I last cut my hair. I am hopefully planning to cut my hair today after I shower.
Nice.
So I'm planning to cut it because it's too hot, especially whenever I have to, move. When I do have to move and use crutches.
Right.
It's just too hot for my hair, so I'm just going to finally cut it.
Good, man. Jeez. It's good.
All right, but so, any final thoughts?
I mean, nothing much. I mean, I just hope it just goes well for you. Hopefully, time slowly creeps up on you. In a good way, of course, in terms of numbing down the pain over time and giving you the chance or the ability to walk.
It's funny to bring that up because it wasn't until a couple of days ago where I finally realized, I'm like, wait, I underestimated how long 6 weeks is. I'm really going to be stuck like this for that long.
We'll be like that sometimes.
It's going to be a struggle, but hopefully all for the better. And with that being said, we'll close out here. I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo, the second.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, the door is open for anyone and everyone to join, and the door is open for anyone and everyone to suggest any type of topic for us to discuss, because, as always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you for joining us for Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.